you're not manipulating them, you're guiding them. Sales can just be guiding, and it's for profit, which is great. That's why you're in business. Nothing to feel bad about here. Also, this is why I like in my presentations to just present one strong solution to the client, because it's really easy to sell one solution because you have your heart and soul behind it. I believe this solution is the best for you, client, because I've thought it through all different ways. Yes, there's an alternate here, there's an alternate there. If you want to look at it, we can explore that, but I've already made this decision for you. In my professional opinion, this is going to be the best solution for you, and here's how much it costs. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to episode 185 of Design Curious Podcast. Today on the podcast, I'm talking about 3 mistakes that I see people making when they're starting their business. These are also mistakes that I made, so I want you to learn from them. When you start your design business, you think that maybe the biggest challenge will be creating those beautiful spaces that you are dreaming about and loving, but it's not. The hardest part isn't the design, it's the business part. I know that you guys are talented. I know you care deeply about your projects, but you could make mistakes that can cost you time, energy, and confidence. And so I don't want you to make these mistakes. So you're going to learn from me today about that. So let's get into it. Okay, so all of these mistakes are things that I also made when I was starting out. And so that's why I'm sharing with you today to make sure that you are not repeating my mistakes when you're starting out in your business. All right, so the first one is letting the client drive the project. We've talked about this before, especially when we talked about getting your dream client, you need to set up boundaries. But the root issue is that you don't have a clearly defined process, that you're feeling like an imposter. You are probably a people pleaser, which I definitely am. I call myself a recovering people pleaser, and lack of boundaries. I have worked on creating boundaries in my life, something that did not come easily to me. I loved reading the Boundary Boss book, so I definitely recommend everyone to that. It's on my book list if you're wanting to check that out. I have a slew of books that we read in my Design Mentor, but I've made it publicly available, so we'll include that link for you. A lot of great books on there, but Boundary Boss is one of them. Because you are the expert, right? You are the designer, and your client is not. They are not. They probably haven't done as many projects as you before, or else they wouldn't be hiring a designer, right? Designers are naturally empathetic and collaborative, and that's beautiful, and people love that about them. But without structure, your projects will start to turn into a chaotic mess. We don't like that. And I was there, and I would go shopping with my clients, even though I did not like it. And they were indecisive, and it would take hours, and we had no conclusion at the end because every new place that we went, they were like, oh, I like this one better, or I like that one better. And can we even remember what we were looking at 3 hours ago in the other shop? Probably not. So that's when I decided I'm going to stop going shopping with my clients. When you're shopping with your clients, they're really leading the project because they're walking around the showroom and saying, oh, I like this. Oh, I like that. Instead of you walking around and saying, we're going to work with this sofa and this chair, or, and then we don't even work with that. We don't design off a showroom floor. Typically, we use wholesale products. And so, but yeah, you don't want your client to lead the project, right? You are the designer. You have all the experience, the instinct to lead them in the right direction. So just be firm on that. Unless you really like shopping with clients. I don't know. Some clients, I think, just hire a designer because they want a shopping buddy. And they think that's what they're going to be doing, is that they're just going to go to their local home store and, pick out accessories and pillows and talk about the fringe. And, maybe that lights you up. So if that does, then that's fine. You still need to, though, lead the client in the direction that they should go and be firm about your opinions and say, no, that pillow is not going to work with our color scheme. We're going to select this one instead. Okay. The other examples of things that I've let clients lead, which was wrong, is when they want their neighbor or their daughter or some family member or friend come and sit in on the meetings. The problem here is that usually that friend or neighbor is very opinionated, or else that person would not have had them there. Likely also the client is susceptible to this other person's strong opinion and not decisive. So by having another strong person in the meeting, that's going to conflict with you. Now, from the beginning, you should be asking your client who the decision makers are on the project. If it's a couple, are both of them going to be making decisions, they should both be at that presentation, of course. But anyone outside of the house who's not going to be living in the house probably should not be at these presentations, because they're just going to make suggestions that they don't have to live with. And so it's going to be based on that person's experience, but that person does not have professional design experience, more than likely. And if they do, then why didn't they hire that person, right? So just say no. When they say, I want my daughter or someone to sit in, you could probably say yes, but they are not going to, they can't have any input on this presentation because this is your house. I've designed this project for you, and you need to be the decision maker. Once in a while we'll have clients who bring like their kids along, and they'll just be sitting in the background. They're not actually telling us like, no, I don't like that pillow. Go back to the drawing board, So say no to nosy neighbors and other people who try to barge in with their opinions, because their opinions don't matter, right? You need to lead your client to make confident decisions, and you can't do that if they're getting 20 different directions thrown at them. Okay, so then the other thing that I did that was a problem, and this is still in the category of not letting my client lead and not me, was with the schedule. So I would say yes to a Friday night meeting, Saturday morning meeting, when I did not want to be there, and I started to feel resentful of the client. Even if they were the nicest client, I would still be like, I am giving up my Saturday. I don't want to be here. So that just means that I was crossing a boundary that I didn't verbalize, I didn't set, and I needed to have my own back on that. I would be happy to meet with them Thursday afternoon. No problem. Everyone's in a great mood, but not me on a Saturday. So I had to learn to set that boundary and just say no to clients. And I've had clients come to me and say, like, well, I can only meet in the evenings and on weekends. And then I have to tell them we're not a great match. You'll need to find a designer who can meet with you in evenings and weekends, because it's not going to be me. Okay, allowing drastic design pivots after the presentation. Basically that's a redesign, right? So that rarely happens. And often that can happen if you haven't fully explained the design or have not exerted that you believe in what you have designed and that you are the expert. And so if the client lacks confidence in you, they might totally pivot away from what you're showing them. You don't want that. So you need to present confidently and not confuse having flexibility with professionalism. And it's okay to say no. Saying yes does not equal good service. Sometimes saying no is being a great service to the client, because they don't know what they don't know, right? Okay, so they hired you for a reason, and you're not their personal shopper. You don't need a design committee, and you are the professional. So with this first point of letting the client drive the project as being a mistake, some action steps for you can be to create a defined process, even if it's simple. Steps 1, 2, 3, easy to follow. Client can follow that too. Decide who is allowed at the presentations, and then make sure that they know ahead of time. Establish your meeting hours or your work hours. Don't answer the phone outside of your work hours. Don't teach the client that you can break your own boundaries. Script some boundary language in advance, so you don't have to come across angry or anything like that if they do cross the line. Just have it all written out in advance so that's easy for you to follow and easy for them to understand. And clarity, remember, builds trust. So boundaries can only reassure your clients, and it helps you to be a happier designer. So we all want that. Everybody wins in the end for that. Okay, the next mistake kind of touches on something I had just talked about. Mistake number 2 is forgetting that you are a salesperson. So like in the presentation example, that a client might pivot away drastically from what you're showing them, it's probably because you didn't sell it to them, right? Being a salesperson is actually a mistake a lot of people make. They don't understand that design is all about sales. We've had some interviews with marketing people talking about this before. But when you own a design business, you are in sales because sales brings in money, right? Money you need to make a profit, to live, or else you're a not-for-profit business, which is not what you're going to be doing. Now, if that makes you uncomfortable, let's unpack being sales. Typically people think salespeople are not all that approachable. Nobody likes to be sold. Used car salesmen's kind of the imagery that comes up, but that doesn't have to be you. Sales are really for the benefit of the buyer, right? You have an inquiry and they like your aesthetics. So that's the top of your sales funnel, that they've actually reached out to you and contacted you. Then you talk with them. It's a great fit. You sell them the consultation. So you're selling them the consultation. That is sales. It gives you money. It brings in revenue. The consultation is the next step for the client. They get a benefit because you've come out and you've shared your expertise with them. You have ideas. Win-win. Okay, next step is that they need to sign the contract and give you a retainer. So while you're at the consultation, you can sell the next step, which is the contract. So you can bring it out. You can talk to them about how you have this great process. It makes your project run smoother. You don't do any work without this contract because it's really just the backbone of your business. You're selling them the contract. You get them to sign. They give you your retainer. Then you're going through the design process. You come up with a beautiful design. It's going to really improve their lives. Now you need to show it to them and sell it to them and say, you're selling it to them something that they want, but they really need to understand what it is that they're looking at, right? So you need to tell them why you selected these colors and why you selected this finish and thinking about it through all the details of how they're going to live in that house. And you want to have breakfasts in this area. So let's have these windows larger and we're going to dress them this way so that really lets the light in, and you're selling to them a lifestyle. And it's not just the items that you've selected, it's the lifestyle that they're going to receive, which is great, which is what they hired you for. But they just need you to explain it to them, right? That's part of the sales process. Then they love the design. You've sold them the design. Maybe you've sold them some furniture along with it. And then you have the specific selections. You've told them why. You're not manipulating them. You're guiding them. Sales can just be guiding. And it's for profit, which is great. That's why you're in business. Nothing to feel bad about here. Also, this is why I like in my presentations to just present one strong solution to the client, because it's really easy to sell one solution because you have your heart and soul behind it. I believe this solution is the best for you, client, because I've thought it through all different ways. Yes, there's an alternate here. There's an alternate there. If you want to look at it, we can explore that. But I've already made this decision for you. In my professional opinion, this is going to be the best solution for you. And here's how much it costs. So how nice is that for the client that they don't have to make any of those extra decisions, looking at 3 options for every single chair, for every single fabric, for every single floor plan? That is overwhelming. That is not a service to the client. So I guess I feel strongly about this, but presenting one solution to the client is really what they're asking for in the beginning. Unless they're asking, like, I need you to send me 3 because I need to see 3 for whatever reason. I like to be overwhelmed. Okay. So all of these things, you can assure the client that you've explored the alternatives behind the scenes, you've filtered their needs, that your job is to reduce decision fatigue. So that's why you're not showing them 5 different layouts. You can show them 1 or 2 if you want, just to reinforce. Because sometimes I'll do that. I'll just show them the 1, and then I'll be like, we might have a whole discussion about it. Yeah, I have a sectional here instead of 2 sofas because of this and this. And then I might pull up the other sketch that I did, the not finished beautiful floor plan of the layout the other way. And like, you can see how this might block your flow of traffic, or whatever reason it is I didn't select that one. You can always pull that up and show them. And that just, that can reinforce even further that you know what you're talking about. So they hired you for your professional opinion, and don't hand the job back to them in a PowerPoint and just be like, here, it's all organized. Now you get to make all the decisions again. I don't think that's why they hire a designer. And to be honest with the client up front, I kind of tell them that's how I work as well, so that they are not expecting to see 3 different layouts. A lot of them appreciate that I've done all that filtering out for them, so they just have to say yes or no, or just say, tweak this, Less decisions is better because they're busy with their own job, their own life, and they don't need to have a million other decisions to do. Clients will trust you more with this process as you're taking them through the sales process, and they can say yes. And if you get them to say yes on little things, it can help get them to say yes on bigger things later on, that they are building trust with you along the way. And designers aren't just selling products, they're selling clarity, confidence, peace of mind. So action steps for you is to get comfortable talking about money. Practice explaining your reasons. So if you need to do your presentation to a friend or family member first before you show it to the client, that might be good practice if you're not used to doing presentations, because then they might ask some clarifying questions that you might have assumed your client would understand, but they don't. And so you'll know what areas you need to elaborate on or have more understanding around so that your client increases their confidence in you. Stop apologizing for your pricing if you're doing that. The price is what it is. And remember, sales is a service when it's done ethically. So that is mistake number 2 that people make. And then the last one that I see a lot, and I did part of this starting out, was not making the business official. So I did make the business official in certain ways when I first started out. I did not get an LLC. I did not know I needed business insurance right out the gate. But the other things I did do, so that I was going to say is that this is what I see often, is that people don't get their LLC or have insurance, but sometimes they don't track their sales tax properly. They don't hire a bookkeeper, or they mix their personal and business accounts and tiptoe into business. So that's a problem. You need to make your business official from the start if you're doing a business. Either you're doing it or you're not, right? So let's reduce your risk and personal liability or penalties with taxes. Make sure you have cash flow and there's no confusion around that. And you want to look professional to your client. So be sure and have some systems. And, having a bookkeeper doesn't have to be a full-time person. They can just come in a couple hours a month to get you cleaned up. Then it's another person on your team. And then also, you can start saying we as a company. It kind of gives you a different perspective when you're telling your clients, we do this and we do that. When it's just you have a hard time saying we as a royal sense, of your company. So having a bookkeeper on hand can help you understand that you actually are a team of people coming together to create this design for the client. And of course, you don't want to have any fear around money when you're first starting out making your business official. So if you want to be taken seriously, you have to take yourself seriously first. We know that design is creative and business is structure, and you need both if you're going to have your own business. practical starter list for you. And we do a lot of this in boot camp if you need someone to help you along the way to get all these things checked off. But a few of the things that we cover is to form an LLC. We had a great podcast episode on this with llcattorney.com. So we'll link back to that so you can listen to that. It's very helpful. And it's a great company. I've had a lot of people coming through boot camp, work with them to set up their LLC. And you want to set up a separate bank account. So make sure you're doing that. Set up your sales tax permit, get your business insurance, get a basic bookkeeping system, and a written contract always. So many different ways that a contract is helpful to you, not only for your liability, but clarity for you. And then it also gives you backbone and structure for your business. So all of those things are necessary when you're wanting to make your business official. And if you haven't done any of those, then reach out to me and I can help you make sure that you have accountability on getting those set up. So don't make any of these mistakes that I made when I was starting out, and hopefully you can learn from me and avoid them. So if you are making these mistakes or you have made some of these, then it doesn't mean that you're not a talented designer. It just means that you're new and that you need to adjust your approach. So we can fix all of these things. Every designer has lessons that they've learned over time. But the faster that you can embrace this, the more mature your business will be and the more confident you'll be. So if you are wanting help with that, you can join my design mentor, or you can get on the wait list for Launch Your Business Bootcamp. Or you can also listen to the webinar that I recorded for you. It's called From Passion to Profit and 5 Money Mistakes that People Make. So more mistakes that I want you to avoid. So you can learn what those are in the links in the show notes. All right, that's all I have for you this week. Next week, we'll have another great episode. And until then, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.